Jennifer Stein, doing your LLLC certification drive on January 10th. Currently adjusting my mirrors, making sure they are set for me, making sure I have my seatbelt on, looking around, making sure there's nobody in my way that I may possibly run over, checking behind my vehicle, looking around, checking for any type of hazards as I back out of my parking space. We are clear. Looking ahead and looking around me, making sure there's no pedestrians or any hazards in the road. We do need to be extra careful today as the roads are slick since we just had a snowstorm. Making sure to check my mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds. Looking ahead as I approach the exit to this driveway and turning on my right blinker to communicate a turn. Doing several traffic checks before I proceed out of the driveway. It is clear, so now I'm pulling forward, checking left and checking right again, and checking mid-turn to make sure no traffic came out of my blind spot. Looking ahead 15 seconds, making sure there's no hazards in the roadway. Up ahead I see a semi and a red truck and a white SUV. The semi is now turning into the port of entry. I see we have a bridge up ahead. We have plenty of clearance. The bridge height is 28.3. Roads seem to be rather clear. Doing lots of mirror checks, checking for traffic around me while I continue to scan ahead, making sure that there is no hazards in the road, checking road conditions and looking for stalled vehicles, being mindful of the speed limit. The roads aren't as bad as I anticipated they would be, but we still want to run a little slower than the speed limit considering there is the potential for black ice. Again, just scanning my mirrors, changing my point of focus every 3 to 5 seconds while continuing to look ahead for any hazards in the road or changing road conditions since we do have the hazard of icy roads and snow. There is an intersection coming up, so I just want to be prepared to stop as the light is green right now, but by the time we approach it will be a still green light. So I'm letting off the accelerator and letting my vehicle naturally slow itself down. We don't want to push on that brake too hard with the icy road conditions. Continually scanning my mirrors and looking up ahead. There's not a lot of traffic right now, but we do have a lot of wildlife in the area, so you never know when a deer might pop out of nowhere. We're approaching that intersection. The light is still green, but I do have my brake covered just in case it was to turn red. Right now, we are proceeding through the intersection, all while I'm doing traffic checks, making sure oncoming traffic is not running their lights. Had my blinker on to communicate my merge into that left-hand lane, all while scanning my mirrors. Looking up ahead, the roads look pretty clear. I don't see any potential hazards right now. I do see some oncoming traffic and a deer crossing sign. So again, we want to be on the lookout for wildlife. Doing more mirror checks, looking ahead, checking traffic behind me. Currently there is no traffic behind me. Still scanning up ahead, making sure there's no hazards in the road. Trying to change my point of focus every 3 to 5 seconds, so I'm very aware of all of my surroundings. I do see a vehicle up to the left approaching the road, getting ready to make a right-hand turn into oncoming traffic. We really want to be mindful of that since the roads are slick, they might overshoot their turn. Still scanning up ahead for hazards. Checking my mirrors. Checking my speed. Speed limit is 55, but I do want to be running a little slower considering the road conditions. Up ahead, I see a truck coming around the curve. We're quite a ways from it, but you never know. You want to be on alert. They could come over into our lane. There is now a vehicle quite a ways behind us, but I do want to be aware of the traffic all around me and what they are doing. Doing some more mirror checks. Looking ahead, we're coming around a curve. We do have pretty good line of sight up ahead. We can still see that minimum 15 seconds ahead. If there was traffic in front of me, I would at least want to be maintaining a minimum 5-second following distance. We do have those snowy conditions, so we would at least want some 8 seconds following distance, if not more. There is some big equipment to the left of us, so I'm going to get over on the fog line to allow them plenty of room to get by us. Checking my mirrors. We still have that van behind us, but it's quite a ways back. I don't think we need to really worry too much about what it's doing. Scanning up ahead, we're getting ready to come around a curve. There's a little bit of traffic coming around the curve, but nothing too crazy. No hazards in my minimum 15-second window. Just making sure to maintain my lane centering and checking my mirrors. We want to change that point of focus every 3 to 5 seconds. Up ahead to the right, we do have some sort of service truck parked on the side of the road. Looks like it may be looking to merge onto the roadway, so we just kind of want to cover our brake and anticipate that they may possibly pull out in front of us. Checking my mirrors. It appears the truck that I thought may pull out is actually vacant. Up here to the left, we have a big power plant. There's probably several employees and heavy side traffic, so we're going to want to be on alert of that, watching up ahead for any hazards and people pulling out of the side roads, exiting the facility. The van behind us is slowly approaching, but we still have good following distance, so we're pretty safe right now. Just continually scanning up ahead and changing my point of focus, checking my mirrors left, right, and then behind. Right now the roads seem pretty clear. We do have some traffic up ahead in the opposing lanes. It's got a road sign to the right naming the facility that we're driving by. Checking my speed limit, making sure we're not going over speed and going a little slower than the recommended speed, considering there is the possibility of black ice at any one of these corners. Up ahead, there is some traffic coming towards us, and the speed limit did just change to 70 miles an hour. Alright, I guess we're rolling again. Not sure why our camera decided to shut off mid-drive. As you can see, we did pull over on the interstate to check on our camera. We are turning on our left blinker to merge back on to the interstate. We do have some traffic coming up alongside us, so we wanted to double check that it was clear before we just pulled out in front of them. Doing mirror checks and rocking and rolling to make sure that the traffic is clear. We are now accelerating on the acceleration ramp to enter the interstate, doing lots of mirror checks, making sure there's no traffic around us. I am turning on my left blinker to communicate me merging into traffic on the interstate. We are clear and safe to move over. Scanning all around, making sure there's no hazards in the road up ahead, checking the traffic behind us, and doing lots of mirror checks right and left, maintaining minimum 5-second following distance. There is a truck and trailer behind us. We want to make sure we keep plenty of space in between us and the vehicle behind us, as well as the vehicle in front of us, because that is the space again. Not sure why this camera doesn't like me, but it decided it's not about this life and doesn't want to record for more than a few minutes at a time. So I pulled over to a safe location to turn this baby back on while we finish our drive. I'm not going to take you to see the local Walmart now because our camera don't want to participate. So anyway, we're going to finish our drive, looking around, making sure there's no hazards as I back out of this parking space, rocking and rolling, doing lots of mirror checks, checking for potential hazards or pedestrians crossing, rocking and rolling some more to get some good visuals in my mirror, proceeding to pull forward, checking ahead. Let's block that sun with that visor, a little bright there coming off the snow. Doing some rocking and rolling and mirror checking, making sure there's no hazards or pedestrians around me. Stopping at the stop sign, making sure I at least stop 5 feet behind it. I also have my blinker on to communicate a right-hand turn. Can't really see traffic around me, so I'm going to proceed forward just a little bit so I can get a good visual. And rock and roll so I can see around these bushes and sign to see when it's safe and clear for me to make this right-hand turn. And it is now safe, so I'm going to continue making mirror checks as I complete my turn, checking for potential hazards that may have been in my blind spot. Up ahead, we do have a railroad crossing and a stoplight, so we're just ahead, making sure there's no potential hazards, doing lots of mirror checks. We are coming up to that stop, so we are applying our brake. In anticipation of stopping, we are turning on our right-hand blinker to communicate that we are going to be making a right-hand turn, cautiously going over this railroad crossing, making sure there's no trains coming. We're going to make this right-hand turn. We're going to double check that traffic is clear, scanning the roads, making right and left-hand mirror checks while completing our turn with the push-pull motion. Scanning up ahead, we do have a 45-mile-an-hour zone, maintaining a minimum 5 seconds following distance if there was traffic ahead of us, which there is not, but if there were, that's what we would be doing. Doing lots of mirror checks, checked my right, checked my left, looking up ahead, minimum 15 seconds. We have plenty of visual up ahead. There is some black ice right here, so we want to be very cautious. No sudden movements, no sudden braking, and we do actually have our brake covered, and we're just coasting over this patch right now. Up ahead, we do have a bridge coming up in a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone, and lots of other signs indicating that the port of entry is up ahead. We are continuing to maintain our lane, looking up ahead. We are going to turn on our left-hand blinker and merge into that left lane when it's safe to do so, because we will be making a left-hand turn back into our facility. This bridge is 28.3. We have plenty of clearance to proceed under it. I don't know if you noticed back there, but I was also doing some rocking and rolling. It's just hard to get out everything that I'm doing while I'm doing it. Lots of talking going on. Just looking at traffic up ahead, I do have my foot off the accelerator and I'm now coasting as I have my left-hand blinker on to make a left-hand turn back into our yard. We do have a driveway right here, but I'm not going to make my left-hand turn into it as it is a double yellow line. So I'm going to proceed to this first street, then turn into the driveway. We're just doing lots of traffic checks. That vehicle looked like it was going to proceed forward, but it did not. Completed that turn with lots of mirror checks. We now have our blinker on again as we make the left-hand turn into this parking lot. We are looking ahead, scanning all around, checking for potential hazards. Rocking and rolling as we proceed to make our way to our parking area. With all this ice and snow, you really want to be going really slow. You don't want to slide into somebody's car. Doing lots of mirror checks, making sure that I'm in my space. Alright guys, I would have liked to do a longer, better drive for you, but this camera doesn't like me. So that is going to conclude my LLC drive. Hopefully I hit all the points you were looking for. Have a wonderful day. Probably want to increase my speed considering our friend behind us is now catching up, because we were only doing 40 in a 70. Checking my mirrors right and left, continuing to scan up ahead for potential hazards. I currently don't see any hazards. There is some traffic up ahead. There's a school bus parked in somebody's yard. That's interesting. Guess it's an advertisement for hiring. Mr. Van guy behind us clearly wants us to go faster because we are currently only doing 65 in that 70, but that's where I'm comfortable at. I don't want a chance hitting black ice. So we're going to maintain this speed and keep maintaining our space in between us, and if he so chooses to pass, we will accommodate and slow down and allow that to happen. Checking my mirrors right and left, continuing to look ahead. Our friend behind us did decide this was a good place to pass. I do see some hazards up ahead. There is oncoming traffic, so I'm going to go ahead and increase my following distance. One, it's good to have a minimum following distance on top of. I want to allow plenty of room if they were to collide. Checking my mirrors, looking up ahead. There's no current traffic behind me. I'm still maintaining that 65 miles an hour. As you can see, there's some black ice on the road, which I've been talking about being a potential hazard. Here's some more black ice, so we really want no sudden movements on it. We do have quite a bit of traffic up ahead coming towards us, so we just want to be paying really close attention since we do know there's plenty of black ice out here right now, in case they were to slide into our lane. Continually scanning ahead, checking my mirrors, right, left, and behind. Want to make sure there's plenty of space behind me and in front of me for any potential hazards. I am continually scanning for wildlife as well. This is a high traffic area for deer to just dart out in front of you, and nobody wants to hit a deer. It's not fun for the deer, it's not fun for you. So we want to really be on the lookout for that. Just scanning ahead, not a lot going on up ahead. Coming around a curve, there is a railroad running parallel to us with a train parked on it. Doesn't appear to be moving. Just maintaining my lane centering, scanning my mirrors, and looking up ahead. The train may actually potentially be moving slowly, but maybe that's a mirage. Can't tell yet. Gonna turn my heat in my car down because I am now overheating, probably from talking so much. Looking up ahead, there is a vehicle coming around this curve and passing me on the opposite lane, going toward town. Checking my mirrors right and left. Up ahead, we do have a sign indicating that the Timber Creek County Road is half-mile ahead. If that's where we were going to be making a turn, we would know that we would want to start preparing for that here shortly. We are getting ready to approach a bridge, so we want to really be covering our brake. Bridges have a very high potential for having ice on them. So we just really want to be cautious while we're on this bridge. Slow it down a bit, do lots of mirror checks and lane centering, and no sudden movements. Looking up ahead as we come over this bridge, we are actually descending as well. Didn't even really realize we were kind of going up a little hill there. As we come down this hill, we really want to cover our brakes as well and just kind of coast down. The roads are a little icy right here, so we really want to watch our speed because they can really kind of pull you down and your vehicle can't get away from you if you're not paying attention. Again, just looking up ahead, that 15 seconds, making sure there's no hazards in the road. Checking my mirrors right and left and behind. I do see a vehicle coming on the oncoming traffic. We'll just be cautious as we go around it. We've now got all the trains to the left. This is Donkey Creek. This is where all of our trains come to rest. Continually to check all of my surroundings, right and left mirror checks. We want to maintain changing our point of focus every 3 to 5 seconds so that we are fully aware of all the traffic and hazards around us. Looking up ahead, minimum 15 seconds. Visual is really well. We have a clear day. Like I said, we do have snow. Getting a little snow blind. Should have worn my sunglasses, but you know, that's all right. Comes with living in a snowy state. More mirror checks. There is traffic approaching. Doing some behind. Checking. Looking up ahead. It's not a whole lot going on traffic wise, but I'll just continue to scan the area for potential hazards like pedestrians. Very unlikely, but you never know. More likely to run over a deer right now, so we'll continue to scan for those. Up ahead in the distance, here soon we are going to be approaching a school zone, so we'll really want to slow down there. Continuing to scan ahead, checking my mirrors. Did my left mirror, now checking my right mirror. There is traffic up ahead. Making sure I'm maintaining my lane centering and checking my speed to ensure we are not speeding. Just being really cautious. There's a sign here letting us know there is a railroad crossing up ahead, which we will actually be making that left-hand turn here soon to cross over the railroad crossings after we pass the school. Really nothing going on, but still scanning up ahead 15 seconds to make sure there's no hazards in the roadway. Continually checking my mirrors right and left. Scanning out in the distance. Really nothing going on out here. There's a lot of bushes, and that's about it out here in the middle of nowhere. Welcome to Wyoming, the least populated state. So it gets kind of boring here. I'll take you for a tour of the town here in a minute. Just looking all around, maintaining following distance. Well, if there was a vehicle in front of me, I would be maintaining following distance, minimum 5 seconds on a clear, dry day. Really not a lot going on. I continue to do mirror checks, scanning the environment around me for potential hazards. Up ahead, we are approaching that school zone I was talking about earlier, and the speed limit is going to drop, so I've let off the throttle and letting my vehicle coast and slow down. I am lightly applying my brakes to communicate to any vehicles around me that we are slowing down. We are now in a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone, so we were really effective at getting down to that 40 miles an hour before we even approached the sign. Up ahead to the right is that school I was talking about. Up ahead you can also see a white pickup just pulled out of a side street. That same side street is the one we will be making our left-hand turn on and crossing the railroad. There's more traffic coming up off that side street. It's a truck and a trailer. So we'll just be really cautious that they might just blow through and not stop. And I was right. They did not proceed to stop before pulling out on the roadway. But that's typical of oil field around here. Scanning my mirrors, making sure there's no traffic as I make my left-hand turn. I'm approaching the railroad crossing, and if I was in a commercial vehicle, especially hauling passengers, I would always want to make sure I stop, look both ways, open my window to listen, to make sure there's no trains coming, and we are safe to proceed. We have our hazards on. As we cross over these railroad crossings, you never want to let your vehicle shift. And you never want to stop on the railroad crossings. You don't want to chance stalling out and getting hit by that train. We're now proceeding forward. We're in a 45-mile-an-hour speed zone. We're scanning up ahead and making sure there's no hazards in the road, and doing mirror checks left and right. If there was vehicles in front of us, we would maintain a minimum 5-second following distance. Up ahead, as the road looks like it inclines, there is an entrance to the interstate up there, which we will be making a left-hand turn once we approach that and heading back to the town of Gillette, where I'll give you a grand tour of the one store in town. So hopefully y'all enjoy Walmart, because apparently we do. That's all we got. Looking up ahead, making sure there's no hazards in the road. Lots of desolate trees to our left. Really not a lot of traffic. Making sure I maintain that I'm not speeding and I maintain my lane centering. We are approaching that bridge, so we'll want to be really cautious. It could be iced over. After we crest the bridge, we'll be making that left-hand turn onto the interstate to head back into the town of Gillette, and we'll give you the grand tour of nothingness. Checking my mirrors right and left, looking up ahead, making sure there's